And now, your official TigerBait live show with Mike Scarborough and Buddy Songy starts now.
All right, we are live. Another edition of TigerBait Live. Buddy Songy in-house, Mike Scarborough, of course, with you, TigerBait.com. And, boy, what a performance by the LSU football team last Saturday. And a big football game, another SEC game. They're all big. Arkansas. And should have a packed house. It's going to be a big recruiting weekend for all the major sports. Put a major update on TigerBait.com earlier this afternoon. Men's and women's hosting unofficial and official visitors. Matt McMahon really has another nice group coming in. And Kim Mulkey's got the number 2 overall prospect in the country. Some think she's actually number 1. We can talk about that. Recruiting also in high gear. LSU still standing put at 24. And they're going to have a nice group in this weekend as well. And so welcome in, buddy.
Good to see you, Mike, publisher of TigerBait.com. Hope everybody doing well. Can you believe it? It is already week 4, and I think we finally saw some signs of what we saw in some of the fall practices come to fruition. That offense, and by the way, in case you missed it, who would have thunk it? Jaden completes his first 15 completions in the first quarter. That's more than any other quarterback a quarter in LSU football history. But the dink and dunk, this is what we saw in the scrimmage. Quick pass out here. Logan Diggs out in the flat. They didn't have Mason Taylor, but once again, they got Malik Neighbors in space. He had a fantastic game. Both those guys, co-offensive players of the week. And then you had Mason Smith causing havoc. Wingo with his first sack. Savion Jones, first sack. Harold Perkins things looking better. Obviously, sad news with Greg Brooks, but I think there were enough positive things to think. Isn't it amazing, the fan base, the media, coaches and players, and national media, the perception after 1 or 2 weeks and how it's changed so quickly in 10 days. So now you've got a chance to get back, and Mike's got a chance to be right with 11-1, but more importantly, 1 week at a time and improve so that by the time you play Ole Miss in 2 Saturdays and get into some of these crazy games. Who would have thought Missouri would be a tough game? They're undefeated right now. So good news for you Tiger fans, and a lot of young players now getting serious PT, Mike.
Absolutely. Whit Weeks, look what he's looking like out there. We're looking at this LSU offense, and like you said, we're not even seeing Mason Taylor out there right now. And if you don't need him, wait till he's 100%. Let him rest. And but sure is a lot to be excited about. I know a lot of people say, well, Mississippi State's full of problems, but yeah, LSU's on the up and up, and now they've got the highest odds to win the West. It's amazing how things can turn in a couple of weeks. And I agree with somebody I was listening to today. If Ole Miss isn't going to beat Alabama this year, then they never will. Right.
Well, you hope that Lane Kiffin doesn't mouth off and say, let's pop the popcorn as he did 2 years ago. Look, you're going to find out some answers this weekend. Auburn is 3-0 at Texas A&M, 11 o'clock a.m. game. Ole Miss at Alabama. I don't know how much you saw it. There was a rain delay, and it was sloppy and ugly, but they do not look like the same Alabama team. I'm not ready to say that they're going to lose a couple more games or whatever, but Milroe gets back. That's a big game for Nick Saban. Do you realize the pressure and the outcry with their fan base if they lose 2 games this early? And yet 4 of the last 6 times he's gone against assistant coaches, he's gotten beat. 2 by Kirby, 1 by Sark a week or so ago. And, of course, Jimbo beat him 1 time. So, lo and behold, we know that Saban is getting a little long in the tooth. LSU's got a chance to get their bearings. So far, so good, mostly on the injury standpoint. I like the way the defense played. I like the quick start. Obviously, Mike, only 10 penalties in 3 games. They've been very disciplined. But I saw a little bit of that swag, and I saw a little bit of that as we talk about flashing this past weekend.
Absolutely. All right, guys, if you're enjoying the show, please hit that like button. Please share it. Put the link on your Facebook timeline. Tweet it out, text it to your fellow LSU buddies. Appreciate you guys spreading the word that we're live. We're going to go to about 9 o'clock tonight, and let's barrel through some of these early ones. Roger Ramjet says, hey, Mike and Buddy, good to be with you guys tonight. Let's go hunt, hog hunting. Go Tigers. Bert T says, nice new intro. Larry Sane says, prayers up for Greg Brooks, man. As a parent, you hate to see your child go through that. Absolutely. Keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Hopefully we get some good word sooner or later. You just at his age, you tend to think it's going to be the better path and not the worst. But power of positive thinking, and absolutely keep them in your prayers.
Yeah, Jimmy Lindsey was first, and now Greg Brooks. So that defense is playing with a heavy heart. But those guys, and of course, Greg Brooks got the game ball and did tell Brian Kelly before he went into the surgery, I'm going to be back this year. But look, right now, we want to make sure the biopsy gets him healthy, and you move on from that point. By the way, Sage Ryan got more reps, and Ryan Yates, 21, a guy we saw in fall camp, going to play appreciably more. Toviano might get in the mix more a little bit, but now Brooks out probably for the rest of the year. And, of course, the same thing with Jimmy Lindsey.
All right. Mark J says, go Tigers. What's up, Mike and Buddy? Jeff Carmen with a get well soon, Greg. And Spencer Prejean with a question says, how good are the Arkansas receivers? Will the DBs hold up? They're certainly not as good as Florida State's, but look, you've seen more of them than I have. I admittedly have not, other than some highlight film, I have not seen much of Arkansas.
They've got some good receivers on paper, but here is the thing that we had to notice. Savion Jones, I think, leads the team with 4 hurries. Perks got 3 hurries. They each got their first sack. If Coach House sends them loose, I played it today with Sam Pittman. They've got 3 offensive linemen that are battling wrist and hand injuries. When you can't get your grip on somebody, when you've got some weakness there, you're going to give up some sacks. Mike, LSU got 4 sacks last week. They only had 1 going in after the first 2 games. I want to see LSU with another 4 sacks, but how much time will KJ have? And don't forget, he is a big man to bring down. You gotta gang tackle him. LSU did not play him last year. This was a game where Harold Perkins left his calling card with all those sacks and was spying on that quarterback. So if House lets him go, and Omar Spates is expected to be back, so him and Whit Weeks will be splitting time. And what did you think? You like the way they utilized Perkins this last game?
I do.
Looked like a more natural fit.
And I'm assuming as time goes by, they're going to be able to be more unique with it. But I do. Speaking of Week, I like Whit Weeks back there. I really do. I'm excited to see his growth as time goes by. Kinder Camp with a super chat. Thank you so much. It says, Walker Howard left third team to go be third team, ? 1 year started at LSU is better than 2 years at Ole Miss. Going to see how that plays out in the next year or two. Of course, a big part of that was with Walker was, would he truly get to be able to compete for the number 2 spot? And there was some back and forth on that. Thank you for the super chat, Kinder Camp. Hunter Ryler says, how about Whit Weeks? And with a super chat. Thank you for that. Absolutely. I like the way he moves there. And Brian Kelly singled him out Monday about his speed and his pursuit. And we know how highly talented he was coming out of high school in last year's class. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of him.
He had a pick 6 in the spring game. So you saw him with the Jets there. But he's picked up all the nuances of Matt House's defense. I think sometimes fans forget that when you're coming in and you're playing a defensive style in high school, it is a big adjustment. That's the advantage of being an early enrollee and getting here in the spring. No disrespect. His brother would probably tell him, little brother's better than me. But he's faster. Looked like he shot out a cannon, made a great play with a tackle for L. Excellent in pass coverage. He's going to play a lot of football. And once again, this also makes the move of Perkins out of the middle, Mike, seem more reasonable and understandable.
What about trucking with Casper?
Again?
I mean, he's basically become a sponsor of the show. We love him to death, and he's a big part of our show every week. Comes in with a $50 super chat, and he says, "This is always one of my favorite weekends of football. I'm a Little Rock native, so I always enjoy talking trash to the Razorback fans. I'm actually excited to see what the women do again this year in basketball. Great show, Mike and Buddy." Big thanks to you, Trucking with Casper, for that, and your support of the show every week.
It's interesting. My mom and dad had some family friends that were in Little Rock, and they came over when I was a little kid, and they did that ooh suey pig, and I never understood it. But they've got some incredible traditions. But as we know,
I like that a lot better than what the Aggies do.
Well, I was just going to say, though, Sam Pittman cannot get a break on defense. Both his inside backers left, including Bumper Poole. Brooks and Fouché left the year before. He gets new D coordinators in here. I'll be disappointed if LSU doesn't score 40 again just because of their defense, Mike.
It's how do they respond? They're really they were really upset about losing that home game to BYU, and how do they rebound from that? Maybe it's a positive thing for them to get on the road, and we've seen LSU play similarly. Does Arkansas play LSU a lot better than people give them credit for?
Yeah.
I mean, what is the line right now? It dropped a point, didn't it?
I don't know. I hadn't seen it. It's been an 18 range, whatever, 17, 18, whatever. But look, KJ is a threat, and you got to take care of the football. And I think that the competitive edge and the quick start is what everybody wants to see.
Thanks again, Trucking with Casper. Big time.
Thank you, Casper.
Stephen Miller, another good friend of the show, says not too worried about KJ running the ball as most folks are. He's going to throw it first well before he runs the ball. 24-35, 247 yards last weekend. That's a huge concern.
Like I said, is he going to have time? Because their offensive line is beat up. But here's the thing. I think because of the game last week, we really didn't get a true pulse of how the secondary played. Because really, they only had 201 yards, and 50-something of them was on the long run. So, as we saw, Will Rogers struggled. They only had 7 yards in their first 5 possessions. Arkansas is going to do a better performance there. But did you get any judgment out of the secondary because LSU was so good up front?
I think the secondary is going to get better. I like what the defensive front's doing. But I will say this, if you win the toss, you take the ball. And because with how prolific this offense has been between Grambling and last weekend and how little Bramblett's going out there to punt, you got to have the mindset that you're going to score on every series. And, if your defensive backfield doesn't hold up a little bit, that's fine because your offense is going to outscore people. And so fourth and shorts, to me, if you're Brian Kelly and he talks about looking at the analytics and then his gut feeling along with it. If I'm him with fourth and shorts, and now that you got Logan Diggs and Caleb Jackson doing what they're doing, I'm personally a whole lot more comfortable in third and short and fourth and short running the football than I ever was last year.
And on that fourth down call, Coach Kelly did explain that Charles Turner was supposed to snap it a little bit earlier. They called it on Will and the rest of the offensive line. Instead of 4th and 1, it's 4th and 6. He kicked the field goal. 10 out of 10 touchdowns against Grambling. They come back in this game, 7 out of 9, 5 touchdowns, 2 field goals before Nuss came in. That's pretty darn productive on the offensive end. Logan Diggs is my favorite. Josh Williams and Caleb Jackson. Give us your nicknames for Caleb Jackson. Obviously, people want to see more of him. John Emery got a cup of coffee. I think that was because Frank wanted to award him for him busting his butt to get back, but he did not look in the same cleats. He looked a little concrete, a little slow with the feet, and it's going to take him a while to get back to the speed of the game. We still hadn't seen Armani Goodwin, and obviously we know Noah Kane is the guy that you never talk about, so still a lot of running backs. What did you think about Kyron Lacey sitting down and Hilton getting more
Yeah,
reps?
I mean, look, if you're going to drop balls and you've got Brian Thomas and Chris Hilton there, and they're getting taking care of business and practicing better, and you keep going down the line. You don't put up with it. You give them another chance. But
yeah,
and if, like I said on your show earlier today, if you're Jaden Daniels, you know where your bread's buttered, and if I know who I'm going to if it's 3rd and 7.
And if Arkansas's got any sense, they're going to double Malik Neighbors when they can. But Mississippi State did not. And 13 targets, 13 receptions. I don't think I've ever seen that before covering LSU football. That many targets, that many receptions, 239, 2 touchdowns. Don't forget, he got knocked out at the 1-yard line. Could have been a 3rd touchdown. Malik Neighbors, he is playing for his money year. He is going to explode, and he is going to be just like Chase and Jefferson and all these other guys in that he has a chance to be a first-round draft choice.
I will say this, though. You're really picking at nits when you're trying to say, well, because I would love to see Aaron Anderson on some quick slants.
They've got to get him involved, and don't forget Kyle Parker. Sampson gets another chance.
But it's like when the offense is doing what it's doing. I mean, you're really, I'd like to see it, but it's not like that's going to make the offense go any differently. I mean, it's like I said, this thing's running like an Omega watch. All right. Stuart Westwood, a super chat dilemma. I have LSU Arkansas tickets, but my son-in-law, Caden Morrow, is getting his first start with the Cajuns at the same time. Yeah, I'd probably go with the son-in-law.
Yeah, you got to go to that ball game. But the beautiful thing about it is you can watch it on your phone in the TV, in the game.
Well, you do that in Lafayette, and some hot-head Cajun might pour Coke on you, and some stale nachos from that stadium. But yeah, I'd go to Cajun Field. And Caden's a good kid too, by the way. Covered him a bit in recruiting. All right. Thanks for that super chat, Stuart. Kenny Haynes, buddy, hopefully you got something and not water in your cup. It's straight water. Buddy is always hydrating.
I'm not sure. I don't connect the dots on that one, Shark. I do know that it is interesting to see. We talked about it. Mulkey championship, Jay Johnson the championship. Everybody wanted it to fall in line. There was a bump in the road. This is going to be a lot of fun if you get a little momentum and stay healthy and get better each week. But no, I'm an H2O guy, and I'm appreciative to the good Lord that we got out of the 100-degree temps for 30. Well,
yeah, I was looking next week. Next week, we're going to be in the 60s every night next week.
I'll take it.
68 in the evenings. That's the dogs are about to get walked a lot more. I can tell you that in the evening. All right, guys, it's that time. Let's hear from Mike and Alex.
Hey, it's Michael and Alex again with Pride Roofing. Here we grow again. Did your roof get denied during Hurricane Ida?
The insurance company is playing game with you.
Don't forget, August 29th is your 2-year anniversary to make a claim.
Your neighbor got new roof. Why not you?
Pay your deductible. We're fortified, certified.
We do your roof. You came on the Pride umbrella. Bet on Pride.
855 Pride 16.
There you go, Mike Faraday and Alex Martinez. Of course, Mike Faraday, a Broadmoor High and LSU grad, born and raised, grew up with him. Call them at 855 Pride 16. Tell them you heard about them on TigerBait. They're the official roofing company of TigerBait. And with your free roof inspection, and that's whether it's residential or commercial, you say TigerBait, and they're going to pay for you to have TigerBait Premium free for a year. They're paying it. They're paying the bill. And you're under no obligation to buy anything. Just have them come out and inspect your roof. And anywhere in South Louisiana, the North Shore, Hammond area, Baton Rouge, office right off of Government Street, new office in Houma, New Orleans, got you covered everywhere in Southeast and South Louisiana. Give them a call, 855 Pride 16.
Talked to Mike a couple of days ago. Baton Rouge location. Look, 275-2041. We're very busy. If you get the machine, leave a message. Mike Kirby still leading the charge in Baton Rouge. You mentioned commercial, residential, metal roofs. With the acquisition of Crown Metals, the whole metal roof game has changed. The roof with these people over your head is just as important as the roof over theirs. They proved it with Hurricane, what was that? Ida, I don't know. Ida, I guess, whatever it was a couple of years ago. But giving back to the community, once again, they will take care of you. Licensed, bonded, the whole 9 yards. And trust me, they will sharpen the pencil. We ask you, give them an opportunity. You're not going to see them on TV every 2 minutes here locally. Mike also telling us really doing big business at the North Shore right now. So all throughout the state, once again, 855-PRIDE-16.
Greg Myers says he's checking in from Nashville. Another great show. Feeling much better about our team. Yeah, Greg, it's one of the things we were talking about right after the Florida State game. Does this team have the same? Is it a carbon copy of last year? I think the only difference is you don't have that Tennessee in there that was riding high at the time. That's going to lay it on you. I don't see that game being in there. And so if LSU takes care of business and that defense gets better, they go to Alabama. I'm with what I've seen, I'm sticking with my prediction of LSU beating Alabama 2 years in a row. And look, but look, there's a lot of teams in the West. I know A&M fans think that they got a chance at winning the West now. Georgia doesn't look like they're not so unbeatable. I look around. We talked about it on your show earlier today. I mean, who is the best team? Is it Georgia? Is it Michigan? Is it Florida State? There's a whole lot of teams, though, that look like they're beatable, including the Georgia Bulldogs. But I'm going to be real anxious to see at the end of the year that everybody's wanting to throw dirt on the SEC if it ends up panning out that way.
Well, I will say this now. We do have to admit, I don't ever remember in recent memory when after 3 weeks, the SEC only had one team in the top 10. Of course, that was because Alabama was up there every year with Georgia. LSU's been up there quite a bit. But the league does look down. Auburn's 3-0 playing at A&M Saturday morning.
It also has to do with quarterbacks, doesn't it?
Well, it does. It has to do with quarterbacks and also coaches in transition. But as you alluded to, if you watched Alabama play, they don't have the athletes. They don't have the studs on the offensive line. Tommy Reese, look, I'm glad he ended up in Alabama and not at LSU. He's 31 years old. He might be good, but I think everybody knows they're struggling. Do you think Lane Kiffin has the maturity and the defense? Now, here's the irony, folks. Pete Golding, the DC at Alabama last year, going into Tuscaloosa with Kiffin, 2:30. If you like me, you're going to be watching a play every game. I'm going to watch Dion and Coach Prime at Oregon at 2:30, Alabama and Ole Miss at the same time at 2:30. A lot of big games will know better. But there is no doubt, Mike, LSU could be favored in every one of the games they play if they take care of business. And obviously, they'd have to beat Ole Miss on the road and Missouri on the road. But Bama does not look like the Alabama of old this year.
I agree. But it's always one of those deals where you're like scared to really go overboard because you just know he's gonna put it together and you think they're heading towards a 9-3 or an 8-4, and then does he end up with a 10-2 or an 11-1?
Yeah. Well, look, they've got problems at quarterback now. If Jalen Milroe can throw the ball, and oh, by the way, folks, this is incredible. I don't think people made enough of it. Do you realize what frickin' 30 of 34 means? That's 88.2%. It's never happened with an LSU player, even Burrow, over 25 attempts in a game. He's not going to do that the rest of the year. But the question is, if Denbrock gives him the little dink and dunk in the short, he doesn't have to go through progression 1, 2, 3, 4. You get it out in space. You let these guys run. Hopefully Taylor's back. But, man, if you got Mason Taylor back with the rest of the receivers and Malik Neighbors and beat Brian Thomas Jr., you got a chance once again to have 300 yards passing every game. And the one thing that I want to caution people, Jaden Daniels was the leading rusher. Now, we heard it. They don't want him to be the leading rusher this year. He's leading the team in rushing by 1 yard over Logan Diggs. Be careful, because if he gets hurt with that ankle or something, I guess what I'm saying
I don't think he has to be the leading rusher. I think it's going to be a lot closer this year.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, lean on that bevy of running backs. Those runs around ends, I think, are a little problematic, but he's playing great football.
Other than him trying to hurdle the guy, how many bad hits do you think he's taken this year?
Oh, about 4 or 5.
Right.
Maybe 3 or 4. But look, it only takes one. I'm just saying he's got to get down with his pad level. Of course, he did get pushed back when he tried to jump over.
He's tough, man.
Yeah,
you got to give it to him. American Patriot with a super chat. Great show, guys. This is why I love Wednesdays, and prayers for Greg Brooks. Absolutely. Guys, if you're enjoying the show, please hit that like button. We very much appreciate that. Todd Davis, Chris Fowler and Herb Street to call the game.
Yeah, real quick, the deal on that is game day is at Notre Dame Saturday morning. And Herbie, of course, is on that show. And Oregon and Colorado, they were at Boulder last weekend. Everybody thought that they were going to go to Oregon to follow that game. Herbie can't get from Notre Dame at noon. That Oregon game's at 2:30. So Fowler, Herb Street, and Holly Rowe here. You know, the last time they were here, LSU, Alabama last year in overtime. That was a fantastic game. They did about a 10-minute spiel that you got to pull up on YouTube. It was fantastic after the game. And I really believe those guys love coming to Baton Rouge. Holly Rowe as well. They make the broadcast a lot better.
I mean, it's just kind of like, man, things really got to fall bad for the ESPN ABC number one crew to end up at LSU, Arkansas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, but I just explained why they were at Colorado last week in the time differential. Oh, by the way, we'll see LSU Ole Miss, in case you did not hear earlier, the following weekend on ESPN, but at 5. And, of course, most of these games, I'm predicting this one 6:10, 6:11. You know the chock-a-block games. It's going to be late. Same thing with 5 o'clock, probably 5:10, 5:11 the following weekend.
Dane Bergeron with a super chat. Hello, Mike and Buddy. Mike, I'm nominating you to straighten out the Golden Band. They don't know what song to play and when to play it.
Oh, Lordy. I saw this about Chinese bandits. You heard about it?
No, I didn't.
Well,
clue me in.
They have times when they play specific music when they get off the field and fourth down and Chinese bandits and all that. And let's just say, from what I was told, they weren't in sync. So they had a rough game as far as protocol on play.
Wait, are you saying like half the band was playing one song and the other song?
No. They just played Chinese bandits and some of the other songs at the wrong time. But, you know, may Frank Wicks rest in peace. It's never been the same since he left and Linda Morehouse left. And I think
I'll tell you what,
people know that.
When they're using when they've got a playlist, when they're just, using songs when the band's not playing, whether it's pregame warm-ups or –
Oh, I heard about this DJ, huh?
In between court. Let me handle the playlist, okay? All right.
What was the name? DJ Mike or something? That people lit him up on the internet.
Yeah, but that was only a short little deal. But let's get that thing going, man.
All right.
Yeah.
Another hat for Mike to wear.
Yeah, I can handle that. Let me scroll up here. Thanks for that super chat, big time, Dane Bergeron.
Thanks, Snake.
Brad David with a super chat. Do y'all think Sam Pittman missed on his coordinator hires? Is that why Arkansas is struggling? I don't have an opinion on that.
Well, it's hard to keep good coordinators. He lost his offensive coordinator to a bigger job, and he had to bring in a defensive coordinator. By the way,
I just think it's hard to win at Arkansas.
It is. I mean, he's a good fit over there because a great year for them is 8-4, and they realize that. But it's hard to keep in this day and age of NIL and the transfer portal. It's hard to keep too many great coaches and great players over there. But everybody loves him. He's a class act. And, of course, opened up his press conference this week talking about Greg Brooks. And
no, he's just one of the most likable people in college football, period.
Yeah. Good man.
And so if Arkansas does make a move on him at some point, 2-3 years from now, whenever it is, someone will scoop him up in a hurry, either as a head coach at another school and every major school will be calling him to be their offensive line coach.
Absolutely.
Mark J. How about this one? Mike Denbrock for the Broyles Award. How you like this?
Holy cow. That's a little too early on that. But if he calls games like he did Saturday the rest of the year, that he'll be in contention. But look, we know that LSU, in the 2 years that we've seen here now, Mike, it takes a little while for everybody to establish the roles. And, oh, by the way, I'm one of the few guys in the media admits he's wrong, but I'm going to say it. I jumped the gun on Lance Hurd. I thought he'd be starting about this time, just like Emory Jones. Goes to show you how quality 50 is. His mama making that big 50 cheeseburger. Did Jock give you any of the leftovers on that? He went and did the story with Big Emory, but
that
Emory,
looked awesome.
Yeah, he's a stud, but Lance is not there yet.
My old house, he lived probably a mile from where I used to live.
And what did he tell you one day? He didn't go early and rolly. He told Mike, I'm going to start at LSU, and I'll be damned if he wasn't starting on game 3. Miles Frazier said not so fast, so Hurd should get more reps and get better, but I jumped the gun on that one.
Yeah, no, that burger looked really good. You got this, Mike. I will put they give me the playlist, I'll put some ABBA on there for you.
Okay.
Dan Bergeron.
Who's that, Snake? Yeah.
Bart Smokey just got on. Who wins, Bama or Ole Miss? I brought that up earlier, Bart. Who was it? What's the SEC Network guy? LSU guy.
Peter Burns?
Peter Burns. It was Peter Burns this morning that said, if Ole Miss doesn't beat Alabama this year, they never will. And I agree with him.
But you don't know what Ole Miss has on defense. Now, look, Jalen Milroe can flat out run, and their defense has given up some points. Tulane had them in a tight game. You just never know.
Without their starting quarterback.
What's that?
Without Tulane's starting quarterback.
Well, exactly. Didn't even have Michael Pratt. So, look, most people think that I think Bama was favored by 7. I hadn't checked the lines this week. I wouldn't touch it. But I'll say this: if Alabama loses this game, Nick is going to feel more pressure.
Is that what most people want? You guys put it in the chat. Do you want the losses to pile up, or would you rather them have the one loss when LSU rolls in?
Well, no, it'd be great for Ole Miss to beat them, and they would be undefeated hosting LSU, and then LSU go in there just like they did last year and beat Ole Miss when they're undefeated. Ole Miss was 7-0, ranked number 7 in the country when LSU beat them last year. So Lane's still trying to prove that he can coach as good as he can troll on Twitter.
Does a 9-3 or 8-4 motivate Saban, or does it force him into retirement?
I guess Miss
I
Terry.
tend to think if he could eke out a 10-2, he might say goodbye.
Yeah.
But if he goes 8-4 or 9-3, I don't think that's the way he wants to go out, and he comes back and he buckles down. I don't know.
All
right.
That's what Nick loves to say. Look, he's addressed all of this. He thinks it's funny, but I think we can all see, Mike, we all get slower and Father Time catches up with you. He's not as spicy. He's not as cognizant. And I think reaching out with Kevin Steele and Tommy Reese, all those coordinators, he's always won. I think this is a big game for Alabama. I really do.
Post Saban, it's going to be a full decade or more of Mike Shula and Mike DeBose type of years. That's what's coming.
Well, who's going to want to succeed him when he does leave? That's like succeeding.
And fans across the nation are going to enjoy it.
But Kiffin has got to prove, and look, who wants this game badly is Pete Golding. He's got to prove he can get Ole Miss to defense to beat Alabama in year 1. That would be saying something. But look, it's going to be a great weekend. And of course, Ohio State and Notre Dame, the game Saturday night that people will be watching.
Paul Escine, Gumps 9-3. I'm here for the fan meltdown and retirement. He spells in all caps.
Yeah, I think PFM has a little bit of an opinion here. I think he may have somebody very close to him who is an Alabama fan, maybe even his better half, but I don't know for sure. But look, PFM is one of our guys that listened to you and me, called up Mike and Alex, and said, look, I got to have this to get the job done. They were over there, took it, and once again, been a couple of hurricanes. He's the only house on the neighborhood, didn't lose a shingle.
Struggling to lose weight? Drip IV's got you covered. Maybe you've heard of weight loss injections from a friend or a family member. This is your sign to check it out. Drip IV offers medically assisted weight loss with semaglutide at both their Baton Rouge and Lafayette locations. Call them to book your consultation. They would love to speak with you. 225-256-3634. And now Drip IV is open on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. If you're hungover, if your allergies have been bothering you, you're dehydrated, they've got you covered. You went out and partied too much on a Friday or Saturday night, they're there a half a day on Saturdays and Sundays to get you hooked up. You'll be feeling so good, you'll go eat a nice brunch afterwards. Go see Drip IV. Of course, they're over there on Perkins Road, right next to Sushiyama and Iverstein's and Perkins Crossing, and in Lafayette, in Cordoba off Ambassador Caffrey, the first medical office building on the right. Tell them you heard about them on TigerBait, and they're going to give you $10 off on your first IV drip. And I'm telling you that semaglutide, I've got multiple friends that are using that and have dropped a ton of weight. And I'm not going to name names, but if you've seen some media guys out there that are a lot skinnier than they ever been, I'm pretty sure that's what they're doing as well. I'm laying down my marker. I'm throwing shade.
Well, it's obvious that you're not referring to me for sure.
But you guys know it. It's the semaglutide is the generic for the. I'm not going to say the word. The brand name starts with an O, and they've got it for you. Drip IV, and you're not going to beat their prices. And it's the good stuff. Trust me. Michael B says his allergy been going crazy for the last week. You and me both, Michael. You can probably see my eyes itching and been like that for several weeks. But that's like for me every this time of year every year, right, buddy?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Buddy fusses at me from October, November because I'm always coughing.
Well, no, I just especially when COVID was going around. I mean, we had germs going everywhere.
He really was paranoid because I was coughing and he thought I was giving him COVID. But yeah, no, this is that time of year, and but I'm really looking forward to that first. I want to freeze. I'm ready for a freeze.
Well, I was just going to say,
but we need a lot of rain.
Well, I was just going to say, as we were talking about working tonight, let's pray that the UAW, the auto workers, can get back off this strike, and of course, the actors and the writers and the movie people are freaking out too. So, look, we want this country to flourish, and we hope all of that comes to some settlements here in the near future. But LSU football moving. SEC is the West as open as you've seen it in recent memory after what you've seen in 3 weeks. To me, it is. I mean, LSU can go over there and take care of business. Oh, by the way, don't forget, Missouri is still 3-0, and LSU's got to play over there. And you know what happened the last time they played over there? It's the one time at 11 games at 11 o'clock. They won 10-11 at 11 in the morning. That's the one game the COVID year. Miles Brennan got hurt. They couldn't get it in from the half-yard line. So if you take care of business at home, 2 more games on the road, then you come back 5 of the last 6 at home in Tiger Stadium.
Crypto Cajun, Coach Prime will replace Saban within 3 years.
Holy cow. Could you see some of the Alabama rednecks getting to the culture with Prime? I just don't know if it's a fit. I think Florida State would be a fit. I'll tell you where
I don't think he ever leaves Colorado unless it's an SEC school, and not any SEC school.
Well, look, he could fit at Florida State, his alma mater. He could fit at Auburn. By the way, have you seen Auburn? I haven't really seen much of Auburn and Hugh Freeze. They are 3-0. They're playing at A&M. One of those games that's going to tell us a little bit more about the conference this weekend.
TGO1 with a $10 super chat, and he says, appreciate you guys. And thank you for those kind words and enjoying the show and that super chat. Todd Harris, I worry about Coach Prime going to A&M. That might be the one.
Well, yeah, but they still have to pay Jimbo, what is it, like $78 million for the buyout? Look, he has done a fantastic job. Do you realize, folks, he brought in 84 different new players, but here's what he did. He brought in a great coaching staff, and that's the smart thing about it. Oh, by the way, if you heard about Saban at the teleconference today, he talked about Sanders and said he was a great coach, a smart coach. Those 2 guys are on the Aflac commercials. But Deion is definitely going to use Colorado.
People have always underestimated Deion Sanders, and
well, that's his MO.
That whole primetime thing, that has been a marketing thing because he's smart as can be. And but I always say this about Deion Sanders: he was never in trouble with the law. He was never doing anything. if you didn't know where Deion Sanders was at, more than likely he was at somebody's farm pond fishing for bass.
Mm-hmm.
And I assure you, he has honed his craft. And like you said, he went out and hired a fantastic football staff. And to look at the way they play. I mean, how many of those kids did he didn't get to start working with until August because there's so many from the portal? And to look the way they look, so polished. I mean, I get it. We're going to see what happens against Oregon.
Yeah, and USC to follow.
In my mind, he's already exceeded the win-loss total.
Well, sure. No doubt about it. And they're 15 in the country. Nobody would have thought that. But the next 2 weekends, you get an idea. Oh, by the way, Mike made this comment on the site. I agree with him. That kid that had the cheap shot lacerated liver on Travis Hunter, the two-way star from Colorado. I was watching the first half. I went to bed because I couldn't stay up anymore after that long day. But a cheap shot lacerated liver and is out probably for the next 2 or 3 weeks. You posted and said, come on, conference, suspend that guy for a game.
I went and followed the Mountain West on Twitter and hit the notification bell on Monday morning because I was waiting to see the tweet that they had reviewed it and we're going to spin that kid for a game or two or whatever, and nothing. I don't know how you can look at that and not. But I will say this: another feather in Deion's cap to come out and say, the death threats.
Exactly.
And,
that's the problem with social media now. That is where it gets overboard. And Deion, to his credit, said, "Look, he's a hell of a football player. He didn't think he was trying to hurt him. You don't purposely try to hit somebody like that and bust up their liver, their kidney, their give them a concussion, all that." But he said enough with the death threats, and of course that is one of the things that we have problems with when people go ballistic and start pointing the finger and say. And his family got him too.
We haven't. Mike, did y'all comment on the passing of Buddy Stevens? I saw that earlier today, former Tulane coach. And admittedly, I haven't really followed his career, where all he's been since then.
He's been at Dartmouth, and he's done a fantastic job. And he got into a bike accident. He was very much of a cyclist, got into a bike accident, and invariably passed away from that. But look, he actually he tried to get away from a lot of the contact on the practice field, and he designed these robots and all this other stuff to where you can have that robotic impact with not putting your guys too much of the grueling practices. And a lot of the stuff was adopted with the NFL and all that, but very smart guy. And in case you didn't read about his resume, he was a special man, of course, at Tulane many, many years ago.
Absolutely. Andy Whitaker, Colorado's going to lose the next 2 games by a lot, and we won't hear about them again this year.
Very, very likely could do that, but I disagree with the last statement. I think Primetime is going to get his pub the rest of the year.
Either way, I think what's happening in Colorado is good for college football.
They had 9.3 million viewers in the late night. That's after 9 o'clock Saturday viewing. It was the most ever to watch a ball game on ESPN that late, and the 5th most ever to watch any game on ESPN. I don't think that goes away. Shedeur Sanders, his quarterback, Shiloh Sanders, his other son, took one to the house from about 60 yards. They win in double overtime. I do agree with the comment. More than likely, they lose to Oregon, especially since Hunter's out, and USC. But look what he's done for college football. I think it's a great story. And look, who would have thought that they'd win 6 or 7 games, what looks like they possibly could do this year.
Absolutely. Guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We're heading towards 23,000 subscribers. We've had a banner month. And thanks to all of you who have hit that subscribe button. And we're loading content up. We're adding more and more to the channel. And the growth is thanks to all of you spreading the word and tuning in each and every week. My buddy Tim DeSell with the local koala insulation franchise. Nobody better in the insulation business. The team at Koala Insulation of Baton Rouge are your residential and commercial energy efficiency experts. From bat insulation to blown-in spray foam to air sealing and attic ventilation, Koala looks at every project as a unique problem to be solved and can offer several strategies to help you stay more comfortable and save money on energy bills all year round. The approaches Koala provides can also help reduce airborne allergens, condensation issues, wear and tear on your HVAC system, and even lengthen the life of your roof shingles. Koala has the capacity to tackle large commercial building, spray foam applications, and new construction projects while being available to help everyday homeowners get some relief from South Louisiana's extreme weather. As an added bonus, many of Koala's products qualify for federal income tax credits. So give Koala a call today at 225-457-1001 to schedule your free energy efficiency assessment. And please tell them you heard about them on TigerBait.com. And when you tell them TigerBait, they're going to give you 7% off your project. And Tim and his group came out here. We closed in a patio, added some ducks. They went up there and sprayed in the insulation. And while they were up there, they noticed we had some low spots up there, filled those in, no upcharge. And all told, from coming and giving the estimate and scheduling us and it being done was 3 working days. Unbelievable communication. And so give Koala a call if you have anything you need in that realm. All right, let's get some more comments.
Real quick, Fish says, I watched the Colorado State game from the beginning to the end. Mike, the thing started about 9:20. It did not end until 1:30. Producer Don Raymond on the radio watched the whole thing. So I think they've got a captive audience, but right now we're going to concentrate more on the SEC. Does Alabama assert their will against Ole Miss in the second half and get into their defense? What's Auburn look like early? Does LSU continue to play better each week? And for our audience that was so part of our show in the summer and early fall and the first weekend with Florida State, we asked a question for FSU fans. They got over a look-ahead game with BC. They almost lost that game. They're at Clemson this weekend. Can they play like a top 5 team and deserve to be there? Texas and Florida State are in the top 5. They've got to prove they deserve to stay there. And Florida State's got another test this weekend at Clemson, another 11 a.m. game.
Mark J says, I prefer Whit Weeks to start over Spates. Weeks is more aggressive in the middle. I really do like what I saw of Whit Weeks.
And I think Greg Penn in the interview session this week said Omar's got a little more experience. Look, it's going to be hard to keep Weeks off the field. And when you got a guy blitzing like that, covering in space and not missing tackles, he's going to play a lot. But Matt House is an excellent coordinator, and I think you got to be happy with the depth that he's had. And once again, I want to see Perk getting after that quarterback this weekend because we know this was a game last year where they had no idea about Harold Perkins, and he took over single-handedly that game. In case you've forgotten, 13-10, KJ did not play, and LSU, of course, was kind of in a funk with the offense at that time.
Josh Forbes, hey, Mike and Buddy, glad to have you with us, Josh Forbes. And he says, if people keep talking about how bad Bama is, they may create a monster. Yeah, that's the fear, ain't it?
Until you see
everybody's a little, after a while there, 10 years ago, oh, this is it. He's lost too many coaches, too many to the draft. And after a while, people just gave up, said, but this sure does look a whole lot different.
Well, I was just getting ready to say Tua and Jalen Hurts and Mac Jones and Bryce Young. You don't have that anymore. You don't have Devonta Smith. You don't have, and especially on the offensive line.
Julio Jones.
I do think that Bama certainly is very good on defense, but they're going to struggle to put a lot of points on the board. Look, nobody is saying that their demise is here and they're going to lose three games in the regular season. We are saying that I think the SEC West field, I think that's all bunched up a lot more this year, Mike.
This is a good question. PPS, do you think the Colorado-Oregon game will surpass the Alabama-Ole Miss game in viewership? It might. That's a good question.
Yeah.
That'll be very interesting if it does. Dane Bergeron, the only team that does stuff to intentionally hurt players is Auburn. I will never forgive them for the cheap shot on Glenn Dorsey.
Trivia question on who those two offensive linemen were that did that to Glenn Dorsey. Of course, that is when I first developed my dislike for Gary Danielson. Many people might not remember, but after that play happened, Mike, he literally looked into the TV and said, if I'm Glenn Dorsey, I'm going to stop playing college football right now because I
remember that.
But because I want to go pro. And I started cussing it. I said, look, brother, you played, you were a quarterback. You don't quit on your teammates because you get hurt. This is why they gave the game ball to Greg Brooks. This is a bond. This is a togetherness. There's a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and the whole 9 yards. You just don't walk away and say, screw it, I ain't playing anymore. It's happened with some people, as we know, but that was a very cheap shot, and I was glad to see Putt, that was his nickname, Glenn Putt Dorsey, have a good enough career in the NFL, and I think he played, 7-8 years. So, but that was a brutal play, brutal.
Alumni Hall, guys, get over there. You're going to the game Saturday. Want to show your LSU Tiger pride? Alumni Hall is your ultimate shopping experience. The best and largest selection of apparel for the whole family. Nike Golf Champion, Columbia, Peter Millar, Southern Tide hats, Yeti, gifts, and accessories. LSU students, faculty, and the military receive 10% off in-store every day, and you can earn cash back with their Hall Pass rewards. Alumni Hall located in Perkins Row or anytime at alumnihall.com. Alumni Hall, where Tiger fans shop. Beautiful store in Perkins Row, packed to the gills. Buddy always says you need at least 30 minutes to walk around there and get a look at everything. And they've got tons of new stock in there right now. They're getting all the quarter zip pullovers just in time for cold weather. And I like everybody, I know watching the show, we're ready for it. And get over to Alumni Hall and tell them you heard about them on TigerBait. We've got some time left. Let's see what here we go. James Wade, Ruston beat LCA last season. Good rematch. That's going to be a good one up in North Louisiana. And I'll have some video on that one, guys.
By the way, Bussy is coming in. I got to ask you, this is a kid. I've seen some film on him. He's playing quarterback. He projects with LSU as a DB from Texas, 5'10 and a half, about 181 or at 182. Mike, A&M has had the lead for him. And obviously LSU's getting him on a visit. He's making the verbal commitment next Thursday on September 28th. I
think LSU is making A&M really very nervous. He was at A&M last weekend, and hell of an athlete, can play on both sides of the ball. LSU recruiting is a safety, and Timpson, Texas, and a high 4-star kid, and that would be a nice get. And you add him to the class. You got Deshaun McBride back there, who I think still needs to get to a higher rating. But I think LSU's defensive back room is about to get a lot better. And if you could add him, it would be a big, really, really nice get.
And the next 2 home games, 2 big-time quarterbacks coming in. The kid they call G-Mac, George McIntyre, coming in this weekend. I have Pete Cardelli, who's on that high school staff, on my show every Friday, and he said G-Mac's getting better each and every week. 6'5". I don't know if he's 200, 210 or whatever. He's going to get bigger. Tennessee, Alabama, LSU. And then, of course, for the Auburn game, Bryce Underwood comes in from Michigan. As we know, those are the top 2 quarterbacks, really the only 2 Joe Sloan has focused in on. And you certainly hope that they get one of those 2. But, hey, fans, remember, in these games, you can make a difference for a kid, and you need to get back to getting Tiger Stadium rowdy. You got plenty of time for the libations for Arkansas, and we'll find out the Auburn
there's a reason why they're down on the field in pregame. There's a reason why Matt McMahon and Kim Mulkey use these home games and bring their kids down on the field in pregame warm-ups and get to experience that. They walk right in front of the student section. Most of the students know who they are, follow recruiting. They're reading the name tags. They've got the lanyards. And being down on the field, particularly at the end of the game, when I'm seeing these guys come and they get to go in the locker room at the end of the game. I mean, they at the end of it, especially the end of the night, they look like they've just like, man, this is somewhere where I want to play. And Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night is a huge recruiting advantage. That's why all the sports use it. Anything else you want to add?
Look, I am hoping to see Logan Diggs with over 100 yards. I just like the way this guy finds the extra yardage, Mike, when there's a little bitty hole. He definitely can pass protect, can catch it out the backfield. One of these days, they're going to throw it to big number 88, Pimpton. You're just seeing a little bits and pieces of him. But trust me, when you see him down the field and his hands soft as a baby's butt, you're going to enjoy that. Is this the week Armani Goodwin gets a rep or two? A poor man's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's been hurt off and on most of his career. We'll see if he gets into the mix. Obviously, from a defensive standpoint, Ryan Yates is going to play more. Sage Ryan more in the slot. Toviano and all of those guys, as we said, we couldn't get a pulse on the corners. But with Matt House and all that, the one thing I think you got to clean up, and once again, I'm wrong here. Mike and I really sold you on AA. And damn it, we all use a AA battery all the time. And it's dependable. Well, Aaron Anderson has not gotten there yet. But when he does, he's going to bring a foot in the ground, make you miss, and a burst that LSU hadn't seen. So give him a little chance, but
that's my only problem with Denbrock. I don't like sending Aaron Anderson out in the flat where he's standing still. Line him up in the slot and hit him on a quick slant when he's running.
All right, yeah, exactly. And Mac Markway had a tough time blocking in space. But look, one other thing, kick the ball out of the end zone. I've seen enough kickoff returns already to know that that's not great. So I hope Dybert kicks it off. LSU's only punted 5 times in 3 games, and they only have 10 penalties in 3 games. Those are some good stats. Got to get more sacks. Hope they kick it up a notch. I'm expecting something like 44-17, 44-20. And as always, let's have a little fun.
So that is the over, and you're covering the spread.
I don't know what the total is on the game, but I do think that
I think that is the over.
Yeah.
All right, guys. If you enjoyed the show, hit that like button on the way out. Hit the subscribe button and notification bell on the way out. If you haven't already, go to TigerBait.com. Got recruiting updates on the front page. Subscribe there for $1. You get all our premium content, our newsletters, our text alerts for breaking news. And we're going to be in high school stadiums Friday night. And I was going to be at Harlan Berry's game tomorrow night, St. Martin's Episcopal, but that game was canceled. And I don't know why it was, but Harlan Berry DM'd me last night saying the game was canceled because he knew I was coming. So I'm not going to have that for you, but I'm going to catch him later in the season. So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. And Preston, I'll see you in the post-game show Saturday evening. Good night.